We'll get to our guest in just a moment again. Just wanted to remind you we're looking at some cooler weather later this week, but right now it's 43, so we're off to another warm. When I drove into work this morning, now I don't always trust the readout on the dashboard, but it's fairly accurate. It said it was 48. So some of our mornings lately have been comfortable, but it will be a little cooler as we move through the week. Cooler but drier. Just want to remind people who are listening today, radio is a medium that is all sound. So therefore, if you're a big listener of radio, you've got to keep your hearing health. And I have been recommending Dr. Christine Pickup, a doctor of audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert. There are many, many obvious choices available for hearing health care, but why would you choose Mount Harrison Audiology? Experience. And that's because Dr. Pickup is a certified audiologist with 17 years serving the hearing impaired of all ages. True diagnostic testing will help you know what the causes of your hearing loss are and will lead to the best treatment options. Trust your hearing to a certified audiologist. Call Mount Harrison Audiology for your appointment today, 208-312-0957. Steve Millington, I said the other day, she's certified. Some people think I'm certifiable. There's a difference in the Steve Millington joins us in
Yeah.
studio Tuesday mornings between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. If you'd like to reach Steve this morning, 736-0300. But the first thing we wanted to mention, story has been circulating around Boise for a few days, and it's an old story. It's not new. Some woman who, well, she claimed at one point that she had an affair with House Speaker Scott Bedke, and then when she was interviewed by state police, she said no such thing happened, and apparently at one time he filed a complaint, felt years ago she was stalking him, and this has resurfaced because an alt-right publication called Readout News in northern Idaho published it. But here's the funny thing. Heather Scott, who would be Bedke's biggest opponent in his own party and in his delegation in the House in Boise, even she's appalled by the story, apparently.
Yeah,
She
she found
took
it.
it. She took the story to his office and said, "You got to react to this."
Yeah, look out, Scott. Here comes a train right down the track, and it's ugly and it's awful, and I had nothing to do with it. And I found that very interesting. And to Scott Bedke's benefit, back in 2012, when this whole thing, according to this woman, transpired, he went directly to legal counsel and to the attorney general's office, and they are legislators are not encouraged; it's almost required that they turn in these kinds of things to the attorney general's office, and they review them and then assign them out. Well, this particular issue was assigned to the Idaho State Police Detective Division, and they followed it through and checked all of the details and found absolutely nothing in the story at that time. No charges were filed. It was just kind of dismissed out of hand. The thing that evidently precipitated the resurgence of this lousy thing was that this woman, who now lives in Colorado, uh, heard about Heather Scott's difficulties uh, being censured by the speaker. And so she said, well, let me tell you what, he's not as squeaky clean as you may think. Let me tell you this story. So they went down through it in detail, and uh, it's purely a fabrication. People, the situation occurred at a committee hearing, and Bedke was not even sure that he was in that committee hearing because of other assignments, and um, Luna's wife, I can't think of her name. Oh boy, she was one of the assistants in legislative affairs. She represented the proponents of this bill before the committee, and there was other people in attendance. Uh, uh, McGeechan from Idaho Falls,
Janice, yeah.
Janice, that's her name. She was there, and she said they were only two chairs away from me when this alleged conversation occurred, and I can tell you it never happened.
Janice is probably one of my better political friends in the state of
Yeah,
Idaho and as honest as the day is long. And
she
if she
just said
says
that
it didn't happen, I'll,
it
I'll
it,
go along with
it
that.
did not happen, and we're getting all kinds of other members of the House now saying this is absolutely disgusting. Uh, and you know, talk about a gut wrench. This is the period of time during which um, Speaker Bedke's wife, Sarah, was recovering from cancer surgery, and it was a touch and go situation. And any of us who have been down that road in our lifetimes know how emotionally drawing that would be. And for this woman to make accusations, you need to give up on your wife and come live with me. Ugh! Now, Bedke is a wonderful guy, and I think he has a very difficult job in the legislature. And some days are a lot more clouds than sunshine. And Speaker Bedke and I have a very cordial relationship. I've got a few issues with him that I would like to just buy him lunch and tell him how he should run his legislature.
Me too, but then again, he knows his wind power and as well, and I agree with him that it might be a big boondoggle. So
Yeah,
sometimes I agree with him, even though I
yep,
don't always agree with him.
yes. But these kinds of and when I read the articles, I thought to myself, this is why would anybody, why would anybody even want to be involved in politics if you're going to be subjected to this kind of trash? Show me something that's reasonable, that's realistic, that has some substance to it, and I would say, okay, yeah, we have an issue here, but this is just pure nothing but innuendo.
We got more with Steve Millington on the way on KLIX. It's 840. Steve Millington and I were having an off-air conversation, and that was a short break. But I'm going to extend it just a little bit. It's coming up on 841. It's 42. Steve Millington and Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Steve here until 9 o'clock, and then we're joined by County Prosecuting Attorney Grant Lobes just after 9 o'clock news. I wanted to mention, though, if I could for a moment, the Total Body Transformation System, which many of you know, has helped me achieve a weight loss of over 60 pounds over the last few months. And we now have a lot of folks in our listening area who've joined me and are having very similar success. And we even have people outside the listening area. I've got friends of mine I went to high school with. I haven't seen them in 35 years, living all over the country. They're now using the very same system and losing weight. The Total Body Transformation System is not a yo-yo diet. It's founded by a company that's been in business over 2 decades with an A-plus rating by the Better Business Bureau and is backed up by a brilliant scientific team from prestigious universities such as Columbia, Cornell, and Tufts. And we also wanted to mention as well, it has been scientifically proven to burn 6 times more fat. You'll lose 8 times more weight than normal results from diet and exercise alone. The meal replacement program is a lot healthier than most of what you've already been eating. Trust me, I haven't had a potato chip since about Labor Day. So it's been a while. And I love them, but they're not necessarily the best things I could be eating. While you lose weight, you actually are still allowed a healthy amount of calories. The average participant will lose 22 pounds and 4 inches off his or her waist in just 60 days. And I wanted to mention, it's backed up with a full money back guarantee. If you'd like to know more, call Marketing Executive Don Chandler. He's right here in Twin Falls. He's at 208-731-3560. Don's number once more, 208-731-3560. And Don is customer as well. He lost in excess of 50 pounds. Steve Millington, we were talking off air about CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee gathering in Washington every year. This has been going on for all the way back into the Reagan era. Reagan was the first president to ever speak there.
That's correct, and they have had a pretty strong following. They had some tough years during the Obama cycle, but they have maintained their position and have basically run a real good. Once a year, they have a get together and really do things on a conservative political platform.
And a lot of my friends go to it every year. They used to invite me, but I always ended up having some weekend obligation. And even though it was a 2-hour drive, I couldn't make it at my old job.
So now you're going to fly back.
Yeah, I probably should. But the thing is, it's not the Republican Conservative
No, it
Political
isn't.
Action Committee. It's just the conservative.
It's just a very conservative
Or it
political
was.
action committee.
It was. It's been criticized in recent years, and especially this year for perhaps
Wow.
drifting.
I think drifting is an interesting term. They invited a speaker. I think he was scheduled to be their keynote speaker,
Right.
and I can't even pronounce his last name.
Yiannopoulos.
Yiannopoulos. Milo is his first name,
And he goes by Mr. Milo, knowing it's easier to pronounce.
Yeah, the Yiannopoulos is a little tough. He is currently employed at Breitbart, I think, a very conservative blog site. And I think another person that used to be at Breitbart was Steve Bannon,
Right.
who is currently one of the people in the Trump White House. So we have this Mr. Milo, and he was doing okay until, and he fell from grace with the sea. He posted a video. I don't know whether he posted it or someone else
I think it
posted
was a
it.
critic posted it.
The critic was successful then, and in this video that was posted, he makes reference to homosexual behaviors, and especially with younger personnel,
Underage boys.
underaged boys, and he has debunked that and said absolutely not. That's uh, not what I said. That kind of behavior is especially pedophile programs
And
with
he felt it
underage
was
people.
heavily edited and that it makes
Some
him look like he's endorsing
Yes,
pedophilia.
and he said that's not the case at all. That's I had no reference to that, but the damage is already done. It's kind of like the question here with Speaker Bedke. Somebody wants to destroy him. All the media is going to give him plenty of opportunity. Well, the same things happened to Milo, and CPAC invited him, put him down as the keynote speaker for their big conference. And now all of a sudden, boom, they have not only uninvited him, they have kind of disavowed him. Additionally, he had a book that was coming out. Simon and Schuster, I think, was going to be the publishers. It's a very well-known publishing house. They have canceled his book, and now there are considerable questions as to whether or not he will be retained at Breitbart. And in fact, this past week they run a kind of an in-house survey, and as many as 8 people have stated that if he stays on at Breitbart, they are leaving. So much of their editorial staff at Breitbart is so concerned that they're ready to jump ship.
Now, I think in the past, has said that he was a victim of child sexual abuse himself.
That's what I recall from reading.
On the other hand, though, a lot of conservatives have never been comfortable with him. Number one, because he identifies as being homosexual.
Yep.
Two, they're uncomfortable with the fact that in order to get his point across, he uses very provocative language at times. He's not politically correct. Now that doesn't mean conservatives themselves consider themselves to be politically correct, but
But he's over the edge.
they think that he might be a
Yeah.
little too, just like
Yeah.
they feel about Ann Coulter sometimes. It just seems odd though that I think that they had extended the invitation because he had been prevented from speaking at Berkeley, California by liberals, and the thinking was we'll give him an opportunity. But I don't think that the word vetted comes into this, that they
Yep.
vetted him closely
They
enough.
may not have done quite enough research. Now, I watched him on a news show right within days after the little situation at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and he that situation at Berkeley uh, was probably caused by the fact that he was going to speak at the Berkeley campus. And so they had this riot, and we've all seen the pictures on television and YouTubes and everything else where they just destroyed everything, and they had to sneak him out the back door under protection and get him out of there. And so he was on a TV news show, a long segment, and I heard it advertised, and I thought, well, this might be interesting. So I watched it. It only took a minute or two to figure out that the guy was gay, and but he was very quick in his responses, very thorough, very well, very articulate. His wording and the way I thought to myself, wow, he's pretty sharp fella. But and his primary focus was as conservatives, and I thought, how in the world can you be a conservative with your current sexual orientation? But okay, we'll go with that and see what happens. He said we've got to be very careful not to allow external forces I think that's his. That's my word, not his. That's my external forces to creep into the narrative so that we lose sight of what it is uh, conservatively that we want to see happen. Well, when I read this the other day, I thought to myself, "Oh man, this is real ugly." The guy had a great opportunity here, but he allowed some personal choices to take control and determine how he was going to be perceived. And I kind of, it was awkward. I think that CPAC kind of fumbled a little bit there, that they need to be a little more careful and do a little bit more vetting and a little bit more evaluation before they extend uh, speaking engagements to
He's been
people.
replaced by the president, I guess. So,
He's going to be replaced by Donald.
yeah, I believe so. It's 10 minutes away from 9 o'clock.
Whoa.
We have 43 degrees. Steve Millington, our guest in the studio on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Telephone number 7360300. Caller, you're up next. You're on the air.
See, wasn't this the same guy that you and Bill were practically throwing over the coals at UC Berkeley students for not letting him speak? How does that come around? Ain't it?
What part of this did you just miss? We just talked about the hoodlums at UC Berkeley.
Well, and the issue is, free speech is free speech.
Right.
Now,
On the other hand, CPAC is not a public university,
and nor is it a public organization.
and they can invite anybody
They
or
are free
disinvite
to
anybody
choose
they
whoever
like.
they want.
I realize if you're not familiar with American culture and constitutional law, that may be beyond you.
But the thing that we need to keep in mind about the Berkeley situation is they knew who he was, and they had done a little bit of work, knew his conservative nature and his sexual orientation. It was not his sexual orientation that created the disruption at Berkeley. It was his political stature, ideology.
And even being gay didn't get him kicked out of CPAC.
No,
It's comments about pedophilia.
is what got him kicked out. And so, as awkward as it may seem, one of the things that happened in the 2016 election process was that we had a thing called disruption. And the 2016 political climate, the campaign climate, created the most disruptive event politically that we have seen in several hundred years, 200 years in this country. Never before have we seen that kind of disruption where we had so much uh, animosity and angst and from everybody in every direction. One of the of course we ended up with Trump as president, and that'll be a good thing. We'll just it needs a little time, but it's going to be okay. The other thing that's interesting is that we now have uh, kickbacks from that. Now all of a sudden the Democrats, because of all the disruption, the Democrats have come up with the idea that Elizabeth Warren would be a good candidate to run in the 2012 presidential election campaign.
2020, rather.
Oh,
Yeah.
2020. I'm sorry, 2020.
Let them have her. I mean,
So there's one of the fallouts of all of this disruption that occurred. Another part of the disruption occurred that we destroy the political correctness, if you will, is that somebody like Milo would even get an invitation to speak at CPAC.
we have another caller with us. And just a
Okay.
reminder, callers, we'll take callers who don't need someone to read the newspaper to them or translate the show. You're up next. You're on the air.
So I might have missed something. Did they prove that he actually said it, or was it edited to look like he said it?
Well, he's
Because,
kind of stumbled around, and he's not really been clear on that either.
Yeah, now he is clear on the fact that pedophilia and items issues that are against the law is off base.
And he's got a warped British sense of humor, and that may have been what he said was, he didn't mean it, but the problem is it's still embarrassing for CPAC.
and
Well,
go ahead.
my whole thing is that how many times in the last 8 years have the conservatives and stuff been run over by false narratives and editing and everything else, and we keep allowing them to get away with it. And every time this happens, all we're doing is giving them another chalk on the chalkboard. but yet every time we do something and we edit it to the proper amount, they want to see the whole film. So why aren't we asking for the whole film or the whole deal? And take into effect that his British humor, if you ever watch British shows, they are kind of raw. I mean,
But
they
but
are.
but and
That's just the way they are.
thank you for the call. But I will add that the video was released by a conservative organization,
That's
so
true.
it didn't come from the American left.
And to the extent to which it was edited, I suppose we will never know.
We
Somebody may put the original back out there, but it at this point it is so trampled into the mud that it'll never get cleaned up.
we got a couple of minutes. You have an event Saturday.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. We have the Twin Falls County Lincoln Day Banquet on Saturday night at the Canyon Crest Event Center. Social hour at 6, dinner at 7. We, as of Friday night, Friday evening, I should say, we have over 200 paid attendees, and we have got tables set up for about 225. So we are still inviting people to come down and join with us. We're going to have a great time. We're going to have good food and good people and a good conversation.
And Steve Yates, the state
Steve,
chair.
State chair is going to be our keynote speaker, and you know Yates is extraordinary. We are
Former
really lucky.
advisor to Dick Cheney, we wanted to point
Yeah,
out.
national security advisor to Dick Cheney, and in some of his lighter moments, he will make the comment. So there we are sitting around with Bush 43, and we've got the Secretary of Defense and all of these other people sitting around the room making these comments, and this guy named Steve Yates advising them on security matters. And I've often thought to myself, that would be just a little bit. You talk about having to work real hard to take a good deep breath. That would be one of those moments. So I think Yates, we really like him. He does a great job. You will not be disappointed. Come on down and join with us. We're going to have a great time.
And you do this once a year. This is the party's
This
big
is
fundraiser, too.
this is our primary fundraiser for the year, and we've got some wonderful. Now, about midway through the deal, we have an auction. We have a silent auction, then we have a live auction, and we've got several firearms this year that we're going to auction off, and a float trip down the Payette River, and a fancy dinner engagement at Canyon Crest, and several other items that are going to be on the auction list. You will not be. It'll be a fun time. You won't be disappointed.
Trip down the Payette River sounds great.
And it's a boat. I think you can take 8 participants with you on that boat. Now, don't quote me on that. Maybe it's only 6, but it runs in my mind it's 8. The dinner is for 8 people. Shame on me. We've got food items: beef from Scarrow Beef and from Falls Brand, and the list is too long for me to remember.
We've got to take a break for news. We'll see you again in 1 week.
Yes, we'll be back next Tuesday.
Wanted to mention Twin Falls County Prosecuting Attorney Grant Lobes is coming up next, his monthly visit with us. That's on the way in just a few minutes. You're listening to Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We're at 43.